Our work isn't easy.
The American Family Association.
On this fundamental issue, I will not yield, and Planned Parenthood will not yield.
All the odds are against us. Faithfulness is the word.
My religion compels me, and I love it for it, to be against discrimination of any kind in our country.
Our rights come from nature and God, not from government.
All God asks of you is faithfulness, faithfulness, faithfulness.
Fighting for the family, standing for the church, laboring to return to a moral and biblically based culture.
This is the American Family Association at AFA Today.
Glad you're with us live from New York, the belly of the news beast. It is Kevin McCullough, AFA Today on AFR Talk, and just in the shadow of the Freedom Tower right next to Trinity Church. I am not lost in the symbolism of what it is to be, in the nation's most prosperous city, but also to be in such a place that has such great need. And I think if anything demonstrates that as good as anything, the reaction from one of our friends, Dr. James Dobson, the reaction to some of the things that he said yesterday at the National Day of Prayer truly illustrates this. I don't know if you've heard any of the pushback or not, and we'll certainly open up the phone lines and let you respond. But I'm gonna allow you to hear some of what Dr. Dobson he had to say for himself. But as you know, he founded Focus on the Family and now Family Talk. He has been a harsh critic of President Obama, both in court and in the rhetoric in the mainstream. But on Thursday, he described him yesterday on the Day of Prayer as the abortion president. And there seems to be those that are saying that he crossed a line here, that there was supposed to be an absolute commitment to a nonpartisan environment in the National Day of Prayer, and that he violated that. Now, I'm going to let you decide for yourself if in fact you feel like he did violate the nonpartisan rule of what the National Day of Prayer is about. But recently, you may remember, just last week, he won a major court battle against the Affordable Care Act. He won a major court battle against the Affordable Care Act. Why was that such a big deal? Because the Affordable Care Act had been requiring and would require organizations like Dr. Dobson's to pay for abortions, abortion-inducing drugs, birth control, other items that on some level he had considerable faith-oriented objections to. And so his reaction and discussion about some of this at the National Day of Prayer are all kind of in light of the fact that the court sided with Dr. Dobson in that matter. At one point, he had even said, "Come and get me, I will not yield to your wicked regulations." The fact that that President Obama is very strongly endorsed and supported by Planned Parenthood is problematic, at least in Dr. Dobson's mind, and more so than any other chief executive in the U.S. He has touted a relationship with Planned Parenthood. He promised, you hear it daily at the beginning of this broadcast. He promised that he would not go anywhere and that Planned Parenthood would not go anywhere. And I'm going to let you hear for yourself what he said, and then we'll open up the phone lines and take some calls. But in a report on his 2013 keynote address to a gala by Planned Parenthood, the largest player in the nation's abortion industry, Cecile Richards, chief of the organization, chief of Planned Parenthood, said President Obama has done more than any president in history for women's health and rights. That's code language. President Obama wasn't out there discovering a cure for breast cancer. He didn't figure out how to create, a better, holistic, healthy environment for women. He didn't do anything to relieve pain of childbirth or anything like that. It's to talk about President Obama being concerned about women's health and rights is laughable. But this is Cecile Richards, who's the president of Planned Parenthood, who once claimed that Planned Parenthood offers cancer screenings that they don't offer. Said we have mammograms for people, which they don't offer. So this woman will just lie to a camera almost as good as Susan Rice will. But she said President Obama has done more than any president in the history for women's health and rights. Whenever you hear women's health and rights, just always know that's code language for advancing the killing of unborn children. Women's health and rights is code words for the advancing of killing of unborn children. She also said that he understands that access to birth control and preventative health care. What do you think that means? I'll tell you what it means. Condoms and abortion. If you're talking about preventative health care, when she's talking about it, what she means is condoms and abortion. She said these are economic issues for women and their families. Yes, we remember, don't we? We remember. What's the little college girl's name down at Georgetown that went before the congressional committee and was crying? I can't get my birth control because the $30,000 of birth control a month I can't afford. Oh, it's terrible. And then we find out that a clinic not 25 feet from where she was, the building she was in testifying, would actually help her provide birth control for $6 a month or something. See, if you're willing to kill children, you're probably not willing to be all that honest on a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's really what it is. If you have the gall to argue that children, innocent children, should be butchered, you're probably not trustworthy all the way around. I don't know. Anyway, here's what Dr. Dobson actually said yesterday that helped get him in a little bit of media trouble today, and I want you to take a listen. Yep. Okay. Hold on. We're missing the audio here. Let me just grab that and go.
Well, that was very offensive to my conscience to tell me that I had to participate in this and to pay even a small amount of money in the beginning for the support of abortion. So I wrote this in a letter that went to 250,000 people. I doubt if it got anywhere near the White House, but this is what I wrote. I believe in the rule of law, and it's been my practice since I was in college to respect and honor those in authority over us. It's my desire to do so now. However, this assault on the sanctity of human life takes me where I cannot go. I will not pay the surcharge for abortion services. The amount of the surcharge is irrelevant. To pay 1 cent for the killing of babies is egregious to me, and I will do all I can to confront the government that lies to me about its intention and then tries to coerce my acquiescence with extortion. It would be a violation of my most deeply held convictions to obey what I consider to be the principles of Scripture. The Creator will not hold us guiltless if we turn a deaf ear to the cries of innocent babies. So come and get me, Mr. President, if you must. I will not yield to your wicked regulations.
Now, when that happened yesterday, there was a representative, Democratic representative named Hahn, Ms. Hahn, and she got up and she walked out. And then she went to the news media and said, Mr. Dobson is being partisan and he's being political, and this is not supposed to be a political event. And so last night, Megyn Kelly had James and Shirley Dobson on, and she asked him about that. And he indicated that, he was disappointed at the start of the day that the president had not issued a proclamation for the National Day of Prayer, that he did not recognize it, but that when he had, middle of the morning, he brought the proclamation out. Dr. Dobson did, read it from the stage, said to the people in attendance, this is a good thing. And he said it was met with thunderous applause. I guess in some people's minds, particularly those that that have issue here they're going to say if you speak critically at all on a day like that there's that you're being partisan, and I guess that's what that Democratic representative from Ohio, Ms. Khan, was feeling. But is it true? See, this is where we get into the mechanizations of how we think. How does the brain actually work? Do we decide? Can we parse logic from spin on this? Okay, Dr. Dobson, in his time at the podium, was explaining what had happened and why he wrote that letter. And he read that letter, and he knew probably that there was going to be a degree of media that would pick it up, etc. But he read it, and it also met with overwhelming applause by those in the room. The media immediately wants to point out the hypocrisy of saying, "Oh, this is a nonpartisan thing, and look at what you did." But I didn't hear him bashing Democrats. I heard him talking about a policy. To be nonpartisan, does it mean that people of the same party or the opposing party can't criticize actual policy? See, this is supposed to be the great sin. And I got to tell you, friends, it's unnerving. It's unnerving to understand and to realize that there are more people in the media that are prepared to argue about whether or not Dr. Dobson was mean in what he said yesterday. They want to have that argument. He was mean. He did something he wasn't supposed to. He wasn't supposed to be partisan. He was mean. They're more upset about that than thinking to themselves about the consequences of holding a young infant in their arms, seeing all of the trust and all of the earnestness of that child who wants to live. I will guarantee you there's not a child on this planet that doesn't want to live. Anybody that argues otherwise is lying. They are a liar. There's not a baby on this planet that doesn't struggle to breathe if they have breathing problems and doesn't try to fight to stay alive when it is experiencing health issues. There's not a child on this planet that doesn't have that desire. It is something that God puts inside of us. It's something that is innate. It is something that is born. The protection of one's life and the struggle to live. It is the greatest drive of the human nature. So here you have people that are in the media that get irate, that do so over the issue of whether or not Mr. Dobson, quote, broke the mood of the day, didn't keep it nonpartisan, didn't keep it all happy talk. I guess that's the only way you're allowed to talk about prayer. It's got to be all happy now. You got to be happy. You can't think about anything bad or serious or dangerous. Well, okay, then heck, why pray at that point? If you don't have anything that concerns you and you don't need God's intervention on anything, then Representative Hahn, why don't you just go play in the park for the rest of the afternoon? Get your big girl sandals on and go swing from the swing set. See, I fundamentally believe that people that were part of the National Day of Prayer, and I did multiple events yesterday. I was at the 631 at an inner city school in Newark, New Jersey, and we ended the day at a little place called Weehawken with about 7 churches in the village of Weehawken coming out, and the whole day was saturated in prayer, in the people that I know and the people that I was interacting with. It was, and every one of them were crying out for the same thing. God, do something in our country to stem the injustice, to stem the flood of suffering, to stem the crime and the inequities and other things that are going on. The people that have lost their jobs, help them find work. There was earnest, immense prayers that were going up to heaven across every racial divide, across every denominational divide. But evidently we're not supposed to have serious, earnest prayers. We're not supposed to be genuinely concerned about the welfare of children. No, we're supposed to have all happy talk, Congresswoman Hahn. So I'm sorry that we failed you yesterday. Maybe next year will be different. I'm Kevin McCullough. This is AFA Today on AFR Talk. Stay with us.